Well, they didn't take just one Dreadnought. They've taken 2 games off of Team Freedom. Has ENDEMIC, a day that has started unlike what many would have expected after yesterday's performance and Team Freedom's recent performance. And ENDEMIC now sits 1 game away from closing this series out.
Something we said at the very first day here of part number 2 against Team Freedom and LFM, down 2 games. They had what it took to get the reverse sweep back, but I can't help but feel like, number one, ENDEMIC is a roster that has shown to not only be of a little bit different caliber. I think LFM is slowly getting to that level, but we've always known ENDEMIC to be this, can take games off of anybody, you know, might have moments of struggle here, but I can't help but feel like we talked about the slow pacing of Team Freedom. We're past that at this point. I'm looking at this and I suddenly go, Team Freedom, do you have what it takes, or has ENDEMIC come in with such a game plan that they have their own tools? Because starting game number 1 on Infernal Shrines and then still having their own in game number 2, map selection by Freedom, this is just unheard of, it feels like.
Let's see if Team Freedom wants that map selection again. They're going to have the choice. We're going to be going to Battlefield of Eternity, and it will be Team Freedom's choice as they take us here. We know they love to play the Medivh. They love to play around the Sergeant Hammer. Does Hanzo get let through to potentially, if ENDEMIC can play around some of that, maybe the Maiev? And Dreadnought, it seems interesting, I think, for me to point out, because the amount of times that I've heard you praise Dansky at this point as an absolute stud, right? He's still pulling it off. Big E, it was almost interchangeable. Is it Dansky, is it Big E? At any game, they could both go off. Michael Udall has always traditionally, you look back at the Falstad, we now look at the Junkrat in terms of the more recent era of that style of play. It's more about overall map control, making sure to get into positions, put his team in a position, but it's also him being the shot caller role. So it allows him to have more of a vision over the map and allowing that of Dansky to really be that playmaker. And he's been doing that these first 2 games. I look over at the stats at times and I'm like, oh wow, like Dansky's killing it. Like, it shouldn't be a surprise, but the role seems maybe more natural with this change.
It does seem like it is very much making the synergy as a roster, especially decision-making wise, in the for lack of a better word, almost succinctness within their decision-making, how kind of short and swift it has been. Very much seems like it is byproduct of this adjustment that they've had. But yes, as you said, I always, you know, will be up high praise there of Dansky. He, for me, is a player that I kind of put as, you know, maybe K1 Pro 2.0. I know that's a lot of numbers, but I very much look at him as always when you look at him as a roster, number-wise, he'll be able to back it up. When you look at his play individually, you go, this guy performs. He just steps up, and it shows very much here for ENDEMIC. We'll see if it can continue, though, because it's not over yet here, Jay Out. There's still 1 more game for ENDEMIC to be able to get that surprise. Bans coming through, ridding of the Abathur, the Medivh, and another hero we didn't touch up on too much when it came to the draft, but has become far more prominent for NABOE, especially Freedom, has got to be Li Ming. That is something that they have been comfortable moving into the past, and it might be able to threaten it off if a Hammer especially makes it through.
I'm curious if ENDEMIC will not ban Hanzo or Maiev, and then see if Team Freedom will ban one or the other and then pick up one of those strong heroes. They're going to ban the Diablo, which means Maiev or Hanzo will make it through. Hanzo is such a powerhouse. We know Dansky can do really well on that hero. So Deckard's going to be banned, which means that Team Freedom will have the opportunity to play around that and pick up whatever's left over.
I personally am more of the Maiev, I think, under the circumstances, just because I feel like Maiev, with how many flanks on a battleground like this she gets in the setup for the initiation as early as level 1 and that kill potential opportunity, that is where I always love it. But, I mean, Hanzo Race is always unrivaled.
Hanzo Race, keep in mind that Hammer is let through as well here.
And Genji.
So Team Freedom could very well go into any of those heroes. So it's going to be interesting to see how this draft unfolds, because the map bans or the draft bans are very different than what we would traditionally see on BOE.
And it's also more interesting, too, because now that we get a Hanzo on one side, if I have a Hanzo, oh man, Freedom is willing to go as early as the Li Ming and the 1-2 here.
Wow.
The Blaze into the off lane. What I was going to say is a Genji Hanzo is actually one of the better backline kind of synergies between Hanzo having initiation on his own, Genji having initiation opportunities on his own as well. Also, one thing to note with the Deckard banned out, no priority onto the supports. That, to me, screams Collusion's comfortable with the Karazim. This is interesting.
So we're going to get the White Mane. Can do well with potential dive if needed. We do get a Genji on the backside of any of this draft, especially on the side of Team Freedom.
I really like White Mane as a soft answer to Blaze. It's just a small thing that you can rely on, but whenever Blaze bunkers up, if you can bank on anybody walking out, sometimes you can hit mad value out of your lashes to be able to improve your healing. Also, just having a raw cleanse in a composition like this. And Whitemane probably has one of the better mana-less kind of resource demand out of her early game healing. As long as she can wait out the 6 seconds, I believe is the cooldown onto her Q.
We saw Team Freedom yesterday go into the Uther on this map. It was to deal with the Genji Malthael style of play.
Yeah.
ENDEMIC, they're going to take Hammer out of the equation. We'll see if Team Freedom might opt to go with a Genji themselves. Whitemane is, I don't want to say she's vulnerable. I mean, you've got to lock her down. That's the main thing, is you've got to have some type of CC if you really want to dive that, and you're just thinking, well, we can out-damage her healing. That's not going to happen.
But a Hanzo race makes you have to really dive past, right? Because he puts you on a timer, and then Blaze, I don't feel like has the gap closing opportunities if they want to go that direction. That might be a way to make up for it, though. Just Judgment on top of it as well. Go even farther in to make that happen. That being said, this doesn't have to be a Judgment all-in dive approach. Other than the fact that we get ourselves a Tyrael, it's a little bit surprising. Also, it's even more surprising, in my opinion, that we get a Rhaegar. That, to me, says, actually, we want melees, and we're going to go another melee in the back line.
Potentially.
Greymane or another, you know, like something like an Illidan, something of those lines.
The Yoda Li Ming, fabled for very good reason, as we're going to get the last few picks here. So it's going to be the Thrall to help deal with some of that aggression, potentially Earthquake to deal with the heavy aggression, but we obviously do have, they do go Greymane. That does, the Sanctification obviously can nullify that, so it will be some counterplay options there on both sides.
This draft, J-How, is, I don't want to say wild, but definitely different in the priorities across the board here. I like a lot of it, actually.
I super expected the Kharazim, though.
Yeah, I did too. The minute that they were willing to kind of move past that and not getting the ban, I didn't think that they would go with the Rhaegar. And it makes sense once you see the Tyrael and the Greymane that it's like, okay, now we have Blaze, Tyrael, Greymane. That's all good ancestral targets. There is that, you know, world where you could argue maybe even Bloodlust is a go-to direction for that and kind of get that split pressure, but I don't know. It's curious.
I'm not going to lie. Bloodlust might even be used if the situation arises just for the race.
Yeah, it's one of the better tools for that.
Hanzo's insane. I mean, you get a Bloodlust Greymane on there. I mean, that's pretty good damage. But Hanzo on the other side is always that thing that's just like, this isn't fun, guys. We got to do something faster. Speaking of faster, let's get into this game a little quicker. It's time, game number 3. ENDEMIC looking to close it out here against Team Freedom.
Got to play a few games with Big E on the Whitemane last night in Near League, and he was carrying it up, so I'm excited to see his performance here. So far, we've gotten him on the Deckard twice. Pretty big plays for the most part. A couple of Lornados a little bit off. Some playmaking, huge playmaking Lornados at the other side. Scroll of ceilings have been on point. I'm excited here to see what he's got for this one.
The Rhaegar dance.
One of the best dances in the game. I will say, you know, I suggest against that skin choice, but
the
to each their own conclusion, I guess.
The sounds are so cool.
I'm a master Rhaegar blue tint for life. That's me.
Let me tell you about all the Rhaegars I play.
They start with an S and end with an Ilvanis.
Yeah, I mean, support is a lost art for me.
Same.
I don't remember the last time I played Rhaegar, honestly. I'll play, like, if I'm playing support Dread, I'm on range support because, you know, if I go melee support, I'm probably gonna die.
So far, patience being displayed to the laning situation. Freedom trying to get a upper hand here. And notice that anchoring from ENDEMIC. This is the 3rd game in a row Freedom has tried to approach with a proactive laning, and they've just been kind of handled effectively. ENDEMIC is looking at this beforehand, mitigating some of the losses beforehand. And look at this. They make the transition down. 2 members immediately show up. Mike Udall and Dansky. Where's B-Kid? Anchoring from above, and big impact there with the support. This is beautiful play from them. They aren't gaining that much at this point in time, but this is one of the differences, I feel like, from a lot of the teams that have played against Freedom so far.
One of the things that I guess stands out to me that we've seen today, even in EU, I've seen much more third wind at level 1 from Erden. We've seen so much stacking, so much playmaking potential for these late game Erdens going into a perfect storm and, you know, getting those stacks at level 1. But this 3-man rotation, it's literally going from top to bottom. Collusion is body blocked by just about everybody, it felt like, for first blood there. And this is very reminiscent of Infernal Shrines, where they had this aggressive rotation, Dread, but ENDEMIC seems to be responding in kind every step of the wave.
Yeah, it does feel like, to me, this is one of the really cool kind of moments where not only is Freedom coming in with a game plan, you know, fluid laning, trying to be proactive within it, ENDEMIC constantly just dismantling it, but it feels like every time that Freedom realizes that ENDEMIC is looking out for that play, that suddenly Freedom goes, well, we still have to run with that play. Hold on, Lutano, very aggressive there on the Mikey Doll, going to be met with a Stormbolt Cure coming in with the Brush Stock, damage out with that Dark Swarm. Drag ends up landing as well. Eldrune should be here for Zugrug in a second, but it's going to be too late. 2 kills here. 3 in total for ENDEMIC as they gain a massive experience lead even before this first Immortal.
Look, straight up, whatever Team Freedom thinks that they want to do, ENDEMIC is like, nah, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time that we see that heavier, I mean, it is clear on what they are doing, and they stayed around a little longer than I think that they needed to, but the Brush Stalker down. It's early enough. Look, you get 1 kill out of that, the Brush Stalker's worth it. You get 0 kills, maybe. But you get 2 kills out of that, now you've amassed 3 kills in the early game, and you have the Hanzo on your team that is just waiting to hit level 7. This is a major advantage, I think, for ENDEMIC, at least in terms of the feel of the game, that versus what Team Freedom wanted to accomplish in the first 3 to 4 minutes.
And I think that's definitely what we see coming to light. A lot of it feels like Team Freedom is not used to teams not giving them what they want, and then Team Freedom just goes, well, we have to make this. We've wasted the time in the rotation if we fail to commit to it. We do end up seeing the Stormbolt at 4, though, even not going with the damage, so it's going to help with the race opportunities there for B-Kid.
Trying to pull somebody into the stun there is Cure. Nice totem going down. Yeah, Cure's going to hop into that. See if he has his...
Oh, this is going to hurt. That was a huge play there from Biggie. That was max value on the double lashes there on the 3 targets. And that's why that was an immediate turnaround. A very good job there. And part of the reason I was talking about the melees. Hold on, the stun, dodge there at the burrow. But the Thrall now is going to be the focus of Jet Propulsion. Locks down 2. Mike Udall kites away there with the lightning. Gets the self-heal. But now Cure is the focus and the first to drop here as Freedom find their first pick.
I cannot ever wrap my head around white main healing. It's going to take some time, Dread.
It is.
Every time I think somebody's going to die.
All right. Look at it like this. If she's got a W channeled, run away because she is doing more damage and healing more than you at all points in time. Other than that, it's can she get value out of the E? And against melees like this, she's going to get a lot of value.
It reminds, oh, Nazmus lucky to go. It reminds me of another hero that if they have a W channeled, the best to run away from.
Gul'dan?
The Butcher.
Okay. I don't think it's fair to say that's a channel, but all right, I get it.
It's a duration of time that if you stand there and take auto attacks while it's, you know, available, then, you know, you're doing nothing but healing, letting him heal. No matter how much damage you are going to get out, it's just never going to be a winning trade.
The Butcher.
You know, it's easy for me to go back to, Dread. The Butcher is the biggest crutch I have in Heroes.
Right now, Freedom's looking like they're going to need a crutch here as the siege still continuing. Top 4 now victim to ENDEMIC. 3 kills getting the experience advantage, now almost a full level accumulated. Immediate retreat here from the HP remaining onto the Immortal. We'll see what ENDEMIC can make happen. Maybe get some chip damage on experience down below. Love the anchoring there from B-Kid.
Dread, we've seen this before in competitive, is that when you get a fort off this first one, especially since the changes, the race towards 10 is now terrifying if you are Team Freedom, because ENDEMIC will definitely be 10 in or around the next Immortal phase. Starting at level 7, you've got some work to do. It might not be as clean, but then you look at those 5 seconds that you might be behind, those 15 seconds that you might be behind, you better hope for RNG on the Immortal placement, because Hanzo, with level 10 on his side, will step forward and confidently take that down faster than any other hero, and then that next Immortal push becomes more terrifying.
It is looking pretty grim here for Team Freedom, especially as ENDEMIC is being proactive even with the micro advantages that they're able to achieve here so far on Battlefield of Eternity. Stopping the rotations of Freedom and continuing it even past the second Shrine phase. A lot of this is going to come down to, as you said, the Immortal kind of race opportunities with Hanzo. I think to the second Shaman camp is also going to be very important. Big impact. And Friends here going to get the 5-man collapse down below. Jet Propulsion only lands onto 1. Drag use, Cleanse Force now from Collusion there onto the Rhaegar.
I think that was almost givable. I mean, they obviously wanted that fight. It's risky because if ENDEMIC loses anybody in that fight, that's a major comeback for Team Freedom. They're missing out on that top lane soak potentially because all 5 members of Team Freedom showed. They'll still be able to get 10 soon. As you can see, it is going to be top-bottom when we look at the defensive and offensive positions for these teams. So for ENDEMIC, they're in a beautiful spot to take advantage of this Hanzo that's on their side.
And here it begins. B-Kid zoning. Cure's going to join him, along with Mike all there on the Thrall. Sanzo getting the split race chance. The fact that Freedom was not willing to commit to the race damage before the 10 spike was even picked up by ENDEMIC ensures that the back half here, post-halftime show, is going to be very big for B-Kid and friends. Stormbolt ends up landing along with the drag. Nasmus is gone. 10 still here for ENDEMIC, and now the back half of this race continues.
Without that level 10, because the offensive side for ENDEMIC is to move forward towards the side of Team Freedom. Getting that takedown buys them time. No level 10 buys them freedom. And not the type that Team Freedom wanted there, so they have this. And now we're looking at a very healthy Immortal. It is early, scaling just 8 minutes in. Yoda did do some poke damage there, but Team Freedom has a tough defense now.
And one thing I want to talk about that, I'm not necessarily, claiming that it was a poor choice by any means, but it's a trade-off that we're going to see come to light in this game, is Sundering versus the level 1 of Blaze. Going with the CDR rather than the indestructible, or the unstoppable, excuse me. Though this is a battleground where you don't get enough gloves for it typically to be the go-to. Against a Sundering and that tool to be able to keep it alive and a sanctification to reliably get off, I just feel like it might be a little bit too much as we see the crowd control coming through. Ancestral ends up landing. Sanctification is going to be needed, but it is not there. It's the first kill here for ENDEMIC as Whitemane goes ahead and pops the Aegis. Stormbolt used.
Just missed. They were able to interrupt Sanctification in the middle of that fight, so that was a clutch interrupt that they got in that to make sure and deny that. So now this Immortal pushing forward. Shields are down. Tyrael will be here in 5 seconds as he'll make the rotation in, but as the keep wall starts to fall, if that's the most that you get out of this Dreadnought, then you've already established a significant lead in this game.
But Freedom actually needs to force this fight, I feel like. The Sanctification death without it actually being used, they have Bunker, they have Sanctification, and there is no 13 yet. They're going to try and force the fight. They need to get the Sanct off. There it is. 5-man, but it's stacked with the Bunker. Counterintuitive there, but maybe enough to get a kill. Smite goes down. The chase still continuing. Whitemane turns things around. And that was, I feel like, the most realistic opportunity there for Team Freedom, and they actually lose Tyrael on the way out.
Cure has been money for these last few engages. The drags that he's landed, I believe it might have been the drag that denied the early Sanctification, but he landed another one there. Right as Eldruans went out, he said, no, come back here. We want another one. And now that gives them the opportunity to just aggress forward. They take down a keep. Just under 10 minutes in the game, Cure's going to dip on out. That might actually be troublesome if they can make ground here.
It's going to be another situation where they bait and turn. Collusion's out. Oh, man, possibly too far if he goes for that bite. Greymane flanking from above. And ENDEMIC do end up getting the retreat out here. What I was going to just talk about a little bit with the level 1 trade-up, I just was going to bring to light that Sanctification is hard to get off for free unless it's a free cleanse in some way, shape, or form, and even then it's still difficult. Bunker is the tool they need to rely on. Four-man Dragon's Arrow along with the Sundering. Bunker is there. Everybody's in. ENDEMIC.
Well, they got the first kill into Whitemane. Lutano, he's not going to get that Ancestral in time. We're going to have another stun in there. There's going to be the armor reduction coming in from Cure. He hits the isolation as well. It is a bloodbath here in this fight. Dansky able to agility out. That is 4 members down. And Nasmus, he's going to try and make it out. But at the end of this, you can rest assured this is going to be a 5-man team wipe in favor of ENDEMIC.
11-2 there in terms of the kills. And now 20 seconds out from their Immortal. This is going to be a lot of free damage, at least on the first half there of that Immortal. Great job there by ENDEMIC, committing to that fight, the all-in there. It was very high risk, but surely it worked out here for the squad.
The whole premise of this was at the Dragon Arrow hit because Cure hit Brushstalker top, so he's late to the fight. But the Dragon Arrow Sunder ended up isolating Lutano right before he hopped into that bunker. Dread was hit with a huge scatter arrow.
Very much was, and then the isolation coming out there from Cure. One of the probably most value Dark Swarms you've seen in a hot while there. The hitting 3 members that felt like for a full rotation and a half. Race now continuing, as we talked about, a lot of free damage over the first half. Freedom still outside of the 13 talent here, and they have double camps and catapults eventually, but mainly the double camp is the Fear sieging away. Blaze doing his best to kind of throw down oil and flamethrower to deal with that over the downtime. 5,000 health remain onto this Immortal.
Every time somebody responds that bottom, ENDEMIC will just walk forward with that Hanzo, try and find that angle, which is why you see Zugrug trying to eat some of those scatter arrows on the left. You can even see the ping. They're looking for it, but the arrow gives the vision. They're able to identify it, and they move forward. Lutano stuck out here on the side. They're going in, trying to get the assault, but Dansky hops over. Here comes the Dragon Arrow.
The sundering as well. Lutano ends up going down before the Ancestral, and even comes through there. Big Impact is going to be the focus. Drops the Scarlet Aegis. And can we just take a minute to take a shout out to that 13 play coming out from Big Impact, because that is the reason that you saw that Greymane isolated into that choke, is because of that route from Big Impact. Talk about an opening day of support, man.
Hey, it feels good. This camp will push the top lane. The next Immortal going to be in the top. Massive shield here. The capabilities of them, you can see Cure already peeling off, making sure to clear up as many minions as he can to make sure this Immortal gets max value potentially in the game. 3-level lead, Dreadnought, 16 talent to your advantage. It looks like ENDEMIC's game to lose.
It very much does. It looks like it is their series to extend at this point in time, because now they're still one game away. Lutano, very aggressive positioning, but he chose they need to dive past and dive the back line. Big Impact is going to be the focus here. 11 seconds until Aegis is up, and that is a lot of the self-healing there for him. Post 16, he has a lot of self-sustain. They know that Lutano's there. They find him. The Stormbolt, the chains come through. Cleanse is there, along with the Ancestral. Focus is there, along with the drag onto Zugrug. Burrow is there. 3-man Dragon.
Oh my
goodness. 5-man Sunder. The bunker is used. 4 people actually get into it here, but look at that when they escape. And not much escaping to be done. 3 members are cleared up. Yoda ends up finding a reset, getting dominance value, but now it's just trying to buy time as the core is now the focus as Immortal takes out that key.
My play of the game, maybe play of the weekend, that Dragon Arrow into a 5-man Sunder Dreadnought. You will not see value any greater than that. The fact that he comes in there, hits him with the big one, Dreadnought. You've been like, give me Sunder. For the last year or so, you're like, give me Sunder. Dreadnought, you got a Sunder. And now ENDEMIC, they get themselves a 3-0 sweep here over Team Freedom, and you could not have asked for a better performance out of this team.
Even more so when considering the fact that this team is adjusting, trying to find themselves again with Big Impact. Mike Udall, at this point, you don't know who's going to be on what, it feels like, in the next week. But they are trying to find it within themselves and then take out the team that at this point, it is not clear who is the top of North America, but surely one of our top 3, and look dominant here, even against them. And it's not even just purely through the team fight or anything the like. They dismantled the approach to the early game every single time in games 1, 2, and 3 that Team Freedom had, and it just felt like Freedom didn't know what to do once ENDEMIC had the answers.
It was wild because we've seen that type of control. I mean, look, I don't want to take anything away from it. We've seen this from Team Freedom earlier this year. They played so much macro almost to a fault. Started to become a more team fighting team. They lost their first 2 games to LFM, and they're like, hey, maybe we should go back to this macro style of play. Ended up with a reverse sweep. They took down Tempo Storm with a mixed bag of tricks, and they did it on all fronts. But when you rely so heavily on that pressure that they like to obtain with those split lanes, the Anubarak Greymane, that was nothing new. We saw that ENDEMIC came in with a plan. They came in prepared. They had a draft executed for that. I thought, all right, maybe that's just game 1, but give me more. And ENDEMIC stepped up, and they gave everything that you could have asked for to take down Team Freedom, because I mean, it might not work against other teams. We still have yet to see, ENDEMIC reach their final form. But to take down a team like Team Freedom in the fashion that they did shows that they came in with an excellent game plan, excellent strategy all the way around on every single battleground.
Yeah, very much kind of is displayed all within the laning for me. I think I said it in the moment that we saw it within the game, was the minute that we see the 3-man kind of patient on battlefield commit to top, and then B-Kids anchoring like, oh, we've got this, right? And then you see them, oh, we'll give that up. We'll just go ahead and rotate down to bottom. And the second that happens, 2 people show up at the gate, 2 people flanking from above, anchoring, and you just go, yeah, this is over. They at least the laning phase up until first Immortal, right? Then they end up getting a couple of those kills that ended up working in their favor. But that rotation and that level of play, we got all over the place in this series from ENDEMIC, and if they keep this up, then suddenly I feel like the sky's the limit for them.
I can't wait till we get to talk to them, because a lot of it is a matter of Michael Udall. That's the story for the weekend, moving back to the ranged assassin role so that he could do better at shot calling. He told me straight up, he's like, you can tell this on broadcast. I said it earlier. I'll say it again here. He said that, look, we were in a slump. Big E came to him and said, look, I think your shot calling is better from the assassin position. Big E stepped up, and he manned up in a big way because he showed up, especially in that last game. He took over the support role, and the shot calling, the decision-making did seem better. Cure's play in that last game, insane. I mean, that was just stellar play from everybody, but Cure making the proper brush stalks. That one to the top before that last fight bottom was a little like, uh-oh, did we bite off more than we can chew? Battlefield of Eternity, easy rotations, but they stepped up in several fashions here. But the shot calling between the Junkrat, things of that he's able to play, move off to the other side, it's just a very different feel here for ENDEMIC. It
has been a very different feel, and suddenly it makes it difficult when gauging not only them, but also some of the rest of North America and the level of results. I suddenly go like, I don't know if we get this level of play from ENDEMIC. Again, at this point, I don't know where they are going to be able to stop here if they keep performing at this level.
Well, we've got Michael Udall, the man himself, and I had a sneak peek. Papa Udall snuck off camera there, didn't make it in there. There he is!
Hey!
Oh, baby!
Yes! Thanks for that, Dad. You're awesome.
All right, no questions needed. Thank you, Michael Udall. No. Mike, man, all right, we knew. I talked to you. You messaged me this morning. We saw how things unfolded. Big E coming over, you moving back to that role, and you guys look like a different team today, man. Who is this team?
I mean, we're awesome. I don't know. I seriously, Big E, he's the one that came up with the idea. He's the one that messaged me. He was like, hey, what do you think? And then more than anything, he's been killing it on that support role. I don't know if you guys saw his Deckard follow-up. He was playing so well. I mean, I don't think we all went into this being like, we're going to 3-0 Freedom, because like I think they're a really strong team, especially how they played versus Tempo. But I mean, I'm really happy that we did. I'm really happy we showed up today. I mean, because we made the role swap on Tuesday. We were kind of like, let's see how it goes. And it went well. So here we are.
Well, there was that crazy play, I'm sure, that will show up at the end, that Dragon Arrow into the Sunder that was fun to watch. But let's go to your role in particular, because you are the primary shot caller for this team. It's something that, we've noted at times. We see you on the Junkrat. We see you on these different heroes that don't necessarily have to have the carry potential that maybe a Dansky role has. How much more easy is it for you to play in that role, something like the Junkrat, where you can keep an eye on the battleground, but also be potentially in that kill threat just all the way around? How much easier is it for you to achieve what you want from that role?
Yeah, from a shot calling standpoint, it is, for me, a lot easier to shot call from Assassin, because instead of telling someone to go soak the top lane, I'm Junkrat, I'm just already Ripper airing over there to clear it, right? So that's something where I've really, really enjoyed that role, especially like game 1 and 2. I was like, I just get to clear waves. I don't know, I love hitting minions for some reason. But, versus support, I almost always have to be in the team, and I think a lot of times I'd find myself clearing waves as like a Deckard, which is not what you want to be doing. Like you saw Biggie, he was almost following up on every single CC. I wasn't doing that on Deckard, right? So I think it just like fits our playstyle better, where Biggie's much better at following up off the tank, and I'm much more about like the macro following up off waves. So I really love shot calling from Assassin. Maybe Illidan one day, hopefully.
Well, we'll see. I remember me and you did an Illidan video about 2.5 years ago. We'll see if that comes back. But for now, I'm going to send you over to Dreadnought.
Mike, a lot of my questions are going to come down to the shot calling adjustments from you guys, but specifically the early game. Freedom is a team that seems to be gaining a lot of their advantages through not only the gray main, but just chipping away at front walls and through heavy weighted rotations, and then snowballing the fact that you just didn't expect that within that point in time. You guys stopped that almost at every point that they attempted to. It's starting in game number 1 with the gray main Infernal Shrines all the way through Battlefield of Eternity. What is the kind of practices that you guys have put in to get that level of improvement, and how is that either coming from you or is somebody else leading when it comes to the early game rotations?
I mean, so when it comes to early game rotations, a lot of that is Cure, Dansky, and I just talking about what lanes we think will be best to stop their objective, right? So BOE, Dansky had a really, really smart shot call of, okay, they love just pushing the top 4 with the first Knights around like 145, right? He said, we're just going to have 4-man up there. We're going to have Dahaka bottom. So we were already there to like stop their push. So I think a lot of that just comes from knowing what kind of a team they are, right? They love split pushing. They love getting value with that gray main, and then just being really, really on top of it. Right, so I feel like our team consistently has been really good at getting early game leads, right? And then we just throw it in the mid to late game. So that's something that I'm really proud of us. This series, we were really good at closing out that middle and late game. And whether that's the role spot or whether that's just us playing really, really well, it's very exciting, like moving into the future.
It is the level of kind of decision making on a micro level. I feel like that you guys displayed in that last series again through those clever rotations was I felt like on another level. So that was honestly my only question, and congratulations for the victory here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy about it.
Mike, clearly you guys practice the dab in the off screen, you and Papa Udall. Who needs a mirror when you have a Papa Udall on the side? Look, you guys have pretty much established yourself, I think, after this victory as moving into playoffs. I think that's kind of the goal, and seeing how high you can climb. You guys disrupt potentially all of the rankings at this part from 2 through 7 after this victory over Team Freedom. But we have a big opponent for you guys tomorrow in Octalysis, because nobody has a clue what they're going to be running. I mean, how do you prepare for this?
Diva.
How do you prepare for this? I mean, what are your thoughts when you see this start to unfold?
I mean, I think it's more of focusing on what we want, right? They are going to do what they're going to do, and we should just focus on what we're going to do, right? Because we don't know, right? They played Zul, they played Diva, they showed they play Mayed, they play all kinds of these heroes. Instead of trying to kind of ban all of them out, right? It'll be more of, okay, this is what we think is really important on this map. This is what we need. These are the tools that we will have to win. And whatever cheese comes, right, we're going to either adjust to that or kind of figure out how to play it. But I think more focusing internally versus like, oh my gosh, I can do all these different things is a better way to approach that matchup for us.
And then long term, obviously, you guys have had peaks and valleys as this roster has come together. We know the talent's there, but looking forward, when you look at the schedule and stuff like that, what is it you're trying to achieve? Now that you've got playoffs locked in, you're going through the role swap, was this a good first step towards whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and what might that be?
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately the goal is to qualify for BlizzCon, right? So playoffs is really what we're focused on and what we're looking for. And we were really slumping about 2 weeks back and really just struggling of not playing well as a team. We didn't have cohesion. Our synergy was kind of out. And like I said, Biggie kind of is one that came up with the idea that kind of revigorated the whole team, right? Got the whole squad like having fun again and getting really, really back into the game. So, I mean, definitely September 21st, like looking how we want to do, playing up against Tempo Storm and then leading into playoffs. Because, I mean, we're out of the race for first place. So at that point, if we're the best team when it comes to playoffs, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have to play 3 matches or 1 match. We just want to focus on being the best team that we can be at playoffs.
Well, that's awesome to hear, Mike. It was fun to watch you guys today. Hopefully you guys have the success that you had today. We'll see you again tomorrow, but for now, the floor is yours for shout-outs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First off, shout out to my beautiful dad for doing the dad, coming in here, being so excited and being very supportive of me. It really warms my heart. All our fans, thank you guys so much. Our ENDEMIC, the amazing organization, thank you for supporting all of us. Shout out to my teammates. A lot of us stream on Twitch. Cures is Cure_Hots. Mine is Michael Udall. BKids2 and Dansky and Biggie don't stream, sadly. So tweet at them and flame them for not streaming. But thank you guys, the casters as well. Hope you guys have a good one.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right.
Well, that interview went much more, I think it was more exciting than I anticipated. Like, you're talking, they're preparing over there, right? And I see, like, Papa Udall, he's, like, kind of sneaking in. I'm like, are we about to get a Papa Udall cameo?
I was looking at you, and you're just making a bunch of faces. I'm sitting here going, like, is there a major problem behind me? I was wondering if we had technical issues. Nope, it was just a dabbing Papa Udall.
Mike's, like, sitting, he was like, go, go, go. But then, like, all of a sudden, lights, camera, action, Papa Udall's like, this is my moment. He owns it. You better never let it go. But we are going to go to a quick commercial break. We're going to be back with our final series here on Saturday. Don't go anywhere.